What's up, everyone? Welcome to day 23 of my small account challenge of growing a $2,000 account using Charles Schwab as my broker. Today is a solid green day, which is great. It makes up for the fact that yesterday was a no trade day. So today's Wednesday. Now, all right, so let's go back to Monday. After I finished trading on Monday, we ended up having a stock that squeezed up over 1,000%, and I missed the whole move. I'd already taken my trades in the morning, wasn't overstaying my welcome. In fact, wouldn't have expected such a big move later into the morning and even into the afternoon, all the way to the 4 p.m. closing bell, into after hours. It kept squeezing. So yeah, I missed the whole move. But then when we came in on Tuesday, we were sort of in the shadow of that huge move from the day before. And because that stock had started at under $1 a share, a lot of people were looking for the next penny stock that could go from being a penny stock to $10 or $11 a share, like that one had on Monday. And so the volume was sort of all over the place. It was very scattered. It felt very chaotic. And I didn't end up taking any trades in my small account or any trades in my big account. It was just a no trade day. So then come back. So that was yesterday morning, Tuesday morning. Then as the day went on, we ended up having another stock that squeezed up. And this one went up over 2,000% yesterday. Holy smokes. Now, the common denominator between the stock on Monday and Tuesday, both of them had no news to substantiate the move. They are both Chinese stocks squeezing up with no news whatsoever. Traders were jumping on them. Shorts were getting squeezed. I mean, you can understand why shorts would be shorting a stock going up on no news. It doesn't really make sense. Well, people argued the same thing when GameStop started squeezing up, and Melvin Capital lost $6.7 billion with that approach. So, the markets can be irrational, and these two stocks were irrationally strong. So then coming in this morning, the stock that had made that big move yesterday was still holding up, and definitely attention was looking for sort of the next stock that fit that theme. A Chinese stock with no news that was also a biotech stock? I wasn't sure about that. But then we ended up having a different biotech stock that came out with breaking news this morning, and it started to squeeze. And that's the stock that I traded. I took a total of 2 trades, and it wasn't super clean. I mean, the first one was good. The second one, I held in the red for a bit longer than I probably should have. So we'll break down that trade as we jump into it here with a recap. Now, as a reminder, all the profits from these small account challenges gets donated to charity. We just crossed over $380,000 of money raised for charity, and so I donated $5,000 this morning to the Oklahoma Children's Health Center, which is like a children's hospital. So did that donation just this morning, and I thank you guys as always for hitting the thumbs up, because the way I'm doing these donations is every time you hit the thumbs up, I add an extra $1 to how much I'm donating to these hospitals. So the goal is to donate to 50 children's hospitals in the United States. It's the 50 state children's hospital goal. So Oklahoma got $5,000 today, and actually I got to update this to $380,000 thanks to that donation that I just made this morning. All right, so there we go. So that's that. Now, these are the 2 previous moves. ZYBT right here, which went from about 60 cents a share all the way up to 11, and then came just plummeting back down to earth here. Pops back up, pulls back, pops back up again, comes back down. Then we had CPHI. Goes again from 50 cents a share all the way up to 10, and then up to a high of nearly $20 a share, over 2,000%. Drops down, pulls back, rallies back up in after hours, but then pulls back again. So this morning when we got a scanner alert at 8 a.m. on LABT, initially I thought, oh, it's a U.S. company. I guess traders aren't going to care about it, it actually has legitimate news, so they're definitely not going to care about it. And the reason I thought that was because we actually had another stock this morning, IMN, that popped up, IMNM, that popped up on news of a $200 million private placement for the development of a migraine medication. And the stock immediately went from, $1 yesterday to a high of almost $6 a share. So the percentage return on this just, in that little squeeze was, I guess it was about 300%. I thought it was a bit more than that, but nonetheless, ends up making this nice move here. What was the close yesterday? It must have been higher than I thought. Yeah, I guess it was. So, but then it comes all the way back down. Higher volume selling, not great. So that kind of surprised me that in spite of what seemed like a legitimate catalyst, a good headline, that the stock would fail. And that made me think, are we in one of these markets where good news is somehow bad news? So this was the $200 million private placement. And then this is news about a again, that same the same medication. So I was genuinely surprised that this failed so dramatically. So then I'm thinking, all right, well, I guess no news is better. I don't know. So when LABT first hit the scanner, I was like, yeah, it's probably not going to work. It was sort of, felt a little defeated about it. But I look at the daily chart and I see that the all-time high shows at about $100 a share. There's 3 days with higher volume, maybe 4 here, but the highest volume was 4 million shares on the highest volume day ever. So it's a somewhat recent IPO. It IPO'd and then it sold off. In fact, they had to do a reverse split because of the fact that it had already gone below $1 a share. And now here it was back down to this lower price. So yesterday it was at about $1.80. This morning it pops up. I ignore it, don't care. Pulls back, then it squeezes up again. Micro pullback here and goes up to 360. When it went up to 360, I was like, okay, well, now this is something I have to consider. I mean, the stock's up over 100% on the day. This thing is clearly moving. And so it pulls back right here. And as it squeezes back up, this is a micro pullback right there. And that's where I took my first trade. Now, I actually have this slide titled from Monday's recap. So this is just the pre-market chart. All right, so back to there. So I took this micro pullback here and we got this squeeze from 360 up to 460, nice, up to 560, up to 660, up to a high of just under $7. But then dramatic topping tail, it flushes back down, pops back up, flushes back down. So I got my first trade in and out right there. So this was the first trade. And then as it's pulling back right here, right there, I get back in. I'm like, here we go. But I get filled at about just under $6 a share. And then it immediately flushes back down to 5. And I was like, uh-oh. Well, I'm in this a little higher than I planned. So I'm in here at about 565, something like that. And it drops back down here to about 480, 490. So I'm down almost $1 a share on this. And I was green plus 1,800 on this move right here. And then right there. And then on this pullback, I was minus 900 on the day. So my P&L, I was down over 2,000, almost, $3,000 on that trade, or no, 2,700. But anyways, was still almost $3,000, close enough. So I was down quite a bit on that trade, and I held. Why did I hold? I really felt the setup would work. I recognized I timed it wrong, and if I had been able to get in and get out with like a 5-cent loss, I would have done that. I believed in the setup. I really thought this would work and we would retest the high. The question now was, how long could I continue to hold before I'd have to throw in the towel? And so connecting the low here and the low here, we formed a bit of a ascending support trend line, as you can see right here. Now we broke the low of this trend line back here to 5, and this was sort of my scariest point because I was like, all right, now we're below that trend line. I just don't know. But then it immediately bounces back up over 5, goes up to 550, 560, and now I'm like, okay, I'm in the driver's seat. It pops up to 6, micro pullback, and it rips up to 620, 640, 687, hit a high of 740, and I took the rest of it off the table. And I sold pretty quickly into that move. So I had the right idea. I made $2,242.11, but that second trade only added $400, but was, as it turned out, risking more like $3,000. So not a good profit to loss ratio on that last trade, but total profits with 2 trades brings my account up to about $32,000, which means my account has now grown over 1,500% since I started with $2,000. That was 52 trades ago. I've maintained about 78% accuracy, and the average gain loss per trade is about $600, just under. So I'm making good progress, growing the account, and donating the profit to charity as I'm able to. Now, so I'm putting the donations on my American Express card, so I'm getting a couple of points for that. I'm not taking the money out of the account to make the donation. If I did that, I'd perpetually keep myself in a really small account. I don't really want to do that. I want to have more buying power so I can take more trades. But nonetheless, I am donating the amount equal to how much I'm making trading, plus your thumbs up. And I'm giving my account the chance to grow a little bit more so I can hopefully have even more money down the road to donate, which would be, that's sort of the win-win. So that's where I'm at right now. And for those of you guys that want to watch over my shoulder as I'm trading, if you haven't already checked out the 2-week trial, there we go. 2-week trial link is pinned to the top of the comments and the description. During your 2-week trial, you'll also get access to the same software that I'm using every single day, the charts, the scanners, and the breaking news feed. And so that gives you a chance to really test out what it's like, to be actively trading the market using the same software. Now, we have a simulator built into our platform. Maybe I had it open yesterday. No, I got to open it again. So we've got a simulator there. We've got our classes here. So on the members dashboard, you can go to the education portal, and then you go into day trading the basics. And while you're doing the 2-week trial, you'll actually have access to the first 6 chapters. So you can go through all of this content here. And the sim is only available for full-fledged members at Warrior Trading. This costs us a little bit more to operate, so we don't give this as part of the 2-week trial. But this is something that members are able to use to practice trading in a safe environment. So you type in the ticker, LABT, make sure you type it correctly. And then you say, oh, I want to jump in there. So shift 1 just bought 100 shares at 495, 497, 498 on the ask. There's 499 coming up to 5. Boom, I'm out. And just like that, locking up a little bit of profit. $8. All right, not bad. Now that's just, I just punched it at a random time. But the more you practice, you can start using your metrics here to get dialed in on your aptitude, what you're good at, what you're not good at. Now, for me, I'm mostly just pressing the buttons and kind of goosing around here. So I don't have very good metrics, but I hope that you will take it a little bit more seriously than I am right there and actually make an effort to see if you can make money in the sim. All right, so with that, I'll be back at it first thing tomorrow morning. So I hope to see you guys in the chat room streaming at 7 a.m.